Hello, lads and ladies. How are we doing? Brand new series on the channel, the League One Roundup Live. And today I brought two footballing gurus in Sam Fielding. Sam Fielding, how you doing, mate? Sam Young, how you doing?
He's muted, Ben.
It's always good when you mute yourself, isn't it, at the start of a brand new show? But no, to answering your question, it's doing well. It's shame, obviously, the news today that football fans in Tier 3, obviously our teams, won't have fans back. But great to be on the show, Ben, and hopefully this is a success as it obviously progresses throughout the season.
Absolutely, and also championship guru, but also footballing guru and magical magician, Benjamin Bloom. Benjamin, thank you for joining me. How are you?
Yeah, this is a conspiracy. You've clearly got me on like 2 days after watching Ipswich completely tank to Hull, haven't you? So I think that's very disrespectful of you, and the timing is very suspect.
I waited because you weren't losing at the weekend. You've been playing some, mid-table sides now. I'll wait. We'll do it in the midweek. They're playing a good team. I'll ask him. No, they're probably going to lose at home. They've not lost all season. Best time to get him on. But,
predictable.
Absolutely. But obviously, Sam is a Blackpool fan. I'm a Fleetwood fan, as you probably well know. And obviously, you know my channel by now. And again, we've all started the season relatively well, bar Blackpool, I guess. But Blackpool are coming good. We'll go to you, Sam, first. For Blackpool, started the season a little bit shaky under Neil Critchley, coming from Liverpool. Didn't have much time towards the end of last season. But he brought 17 players in, 21 left the football club. It was always going to take time. He beat, obviously, MK Dons, he beat Wigan Athletic, he beat Burton, and then went to go and beat Peterborough. But you were unlucky against Doncaster, 2-0 up, losing 3-2. How have you found Blackpool in the last few games? Much better, or do you think this is going to be a start of a good run for you?
Yeah, a little bit, I guess, frustrating on Tuesday night. They obviously played really well against an okay side, an average Doncaster Rovers team. But to go 2 goals up and cruise in the first half was obviously disappointing to the players to not come out in the second half. And Rovers, a draw is probably a fair result, but came out and really put Blackpool under pressure. So it was, again, frustrating, but typical Blackpool thing. If Blackpool fans are listening, they'll know what I'm talking about. But overall, I think the last few games, you look back at, I know some wins were in the Cup, Papa John's and FA Cup, but wins, obviously, that winning against MK Dons. Lucky, I think, to lose against Wimbledon late October, but then wins against Burton, Wigan, obviously Eastbourne and Leeds in the Cup competitions, and then the big win against Peterborough last Saturday was a huge result. The frustrating thing, Ben, is you know that we can beat teams you're not expected to beat, but then lose to teams you probably expect to beat in terms of Doncaster and Peterborough. But again, the start of the season, the results weren't there. The performances were okay, not outstanding, but you just felt one game it would turn, and I'm glad it has done. Tuesday, hopefully, is a blip. Cup game on Saturday, so no league game for Blackpool until Portsmouth on the 1st of December.
And absolutely, and you're going well, and you're not too far off the playoffs now, but you couldn't close the gap on Fleetwood, just 6 points behind now. It could have been 3. Obviously, we both played 13 games. And Benjamin Bloom, Ipswich, again, they've been quite good this year. But they started off last season quite well. What I found with Ipswich, I feel like they have beaten the sides that they should be beating. But against, they lost to Sunderland, lost to Portsmouth in the Cup, lost to Hull. And those better sides, Lincoln as well. I think did you lose to Doncaster? You've not been good enough against. You think has that been a frustrating thing for Ipswich Town right now?
Oh, massively, yeah. It feels a bit churlish to come on here at 5th in the league, but and be complaining. But you've just outlined exactly what happened last year, and anyone wants to accuse Ipswich fans of arrogance. Please don't, because we haven't been at this level for 60 years. So when we do come down, we expect to be at least competitive, and patience is wearing thin with Mr. Lambert. We're starting to get snarky press conferences, exactly what we got with Mick McCarthy under the Evans ownership, where it feels like the manager is left to his own devices and can kind of defend himself in whatever way he feels necessary. The truth is that Lambert has been here a very long while now, and he's just grossly overcomplicating this, Ben. Yeah. He wants us to play like Manchester City. He doesn't know how to coach it. His coaches don't know how to coach it. Our players can't play it. And go figure. Who went up last season? Wycombe and Rotherham. This is not a complicated division. Your team, Fleetwood, Oxford, played some good football last season. Doncaster, Wycombe and Rotherham went up. Unless the Coventry were very good, weren't they? They played flowing, progressive football, which they're still doing the Championship, to be fair to them. But there's a real sense of the glass ceiling and everybody staring at it at Ipswich. And please don't mischaracterize me as a moaning football fan, but this is a narrative that's now been building basically since we were confirmed as relegated, and it's a bit toxic. And you already mentioned Charlton, Ipswich v Charlton on Saturday. Ouch! Just go ahead again.
Exactly. And hello to everybody that's joined in the chat. Hello, Albie. Hello, Mother. Hello, Jacob, Posh Vlogs, a Peterborough fan, a couple of Fleetwood fans in here as well. So got quite a nice mix of a few Blackpool fans. But moving on swiftly from our sides, one side that I would like to discuss is Accrington Stanley. Now, Accrington are normally the little club in the league, a little bit like Fleetwood, but they don't really have the resources that maybe Fleetwood can have to go and get a Duffy, go and get a Coots, go and get a Chet Evans. And in the last 7 games, they've won 5, they've drawn 1 and lost 1. And the last game they lost was actually 14th of October against Ipswich Town, and beating Crewe, AFC Wimbledon, Rochdale, Fleetwood, Northampton, Swindon, and all sides you would expect them to beat, but they've got to beat what's put in front of them, and they're doing it in a good way right now, lads, aren't they? And keeping clean sheets for fun. Sam, what do you think about Accrington? Obviously, we watched them a few weeks ago beat Fleetwood, and they didn't deserve it that night, did they? But they've gone on a good run since. Yeah,
I'm just watching looking at the games now. So back in October, beat Fleetwood 1-0 and wins against Peterborough in the early parts of the season. You look at where they are and at the size of the club, and what Andy Holt, the chairman's done there, is absolutely fantastic. And as a Blackpool fan, he's always welcomed us with open arms and be able to fill the away end. And he's been great. But you look at the results against some of the Papa John's. Barrow, to go away to Barrow was always a tough place to go to. Playing Fleetwood, there's a bit of a rivalry this last few years with Joey Barton there and the Scout Mafias coming together, shall we say. But again, going to Northampton, winning. Swindon, newly promoted, 3-0 win against Crewe. Crewe, a good passing side. But again, teams are always going to have a stage in the season where they're not clicking. Things aren't going right. I don't Fleetwood haven't had theirs yet. Maybe they might go on a season where they don't have it. But for me, Accrington have got some tough fixtures coming up, especially on the road and early parts of late December, early Jan. Sunderland at home, Portsmouth at home, Charlton away, Gillingham at home, Blackpool away. So there's tough fixtures come there. But like I said, Ben, they've had a fantastic start. And that's why they're sat 9th on the table with only 11 games played. So add 2 wins onto that, comfortably in the top 3.
Absolutely, and we've got an Accrington fan who might back that up. Ben, you watched, obviously, Ipswich beat them 2-0 at Portman Road a few weeks ago, and they were unlucky that day. I thought they played some nice football, but Ipswich did get over the line. And have you been surprised what John Coleman's continued to do there? Obviously, he's continued to really overachieve and keep doing it. And I always use the mentality, it's a bit like Sean Dyche at Burnley, small fish in a big fish in a small pond, and they're doing really well, aren't they?
Yeah, I was thinking when you asked me, am I surprised? No, not really, because they do it all the time. They've got a great record against us at Accrington, not so much at Portman Road. But I'm going to go back to that point I made on the Ipswich answer, Ben. Clean sheets, competent, massively experienced manager. We've got the season condensed. There'd be loads of games normally, even if we had started at the start of August. And if you stick John Coleman in, get your team organised, that's going to be half the battle this season. And I mean, obviously, clubs like mine, we're lucky because we've got bigger squads. And when the 5 subs kicks in and injuries kick in, that might help. And as Sam pointed out, you know, if one player gets injured, another gets injured, you start going away to Sunderland or Charlton or what have you. But yeah, they do a great job, Accrington, and they really typify exactly what League One is all about, don't they? And how to succeed. And without labouring the point, you don't need to try and be Pep Guardiola. Save that for the top end of the Championship and organised, clean sheets, and away you go.
Exactly the point, and they've been brilliant in the opening stages. And moving on from them, again, climbing the table and not too far off the playoffs. Now going to the bottom half, struggling Wigan now. Obviously had a lot of problems with administration. They came down last year after they looked so much likely of staying up. They were brilliant. They were scoring goals, and they've lost all the team. Only one pretty much left is Joe Garner, ex-Ipswich and obviously ex-Preston, as Sam will know. He scored a hat-trick against Fleetwood just a couple of seasons ago, and he's been their shining light. He scored 2 of the 9 league goals this year, 5 out of 13 in all competitions. He scored a brace against Fleetwood in the Carabao Cup. Ben, how much of a blow would Joe Garner be? Because in my opinion, he's a shining light in that poor Wigan side.
Well, you're right. He was the only one that stayed. We can. I mean, you say they were mid-table. I reckon if they'd have kept Paul Cook and not sold anyone, and I can reel them off here: Marshall, Robinson, Byrne, Dunkley. There was another centre half as well: Williams, Morsey, Moore, Dowell back on loan. Hell of a team there. So I think they would have been definitely in the top half of the Championship with Paul Cook there. On Joe Garner, I absolutely love Joe Garner. He's horrible. Absolute horrible player. I remember once we were playing Burton and I just kept an eye on him from a goal kick, and he was standing on the defender's foot and digging him in the ribs and all of that stuff, backing in every second. And of course, what happens next? Goal kick comes, gets one little touch on his shoulder, down he goes, wins a free kick. So a big fan of Joe Garner. And if you actually look at his record when he's in League One, wow, it was very good for Preston. And where did we before Rangers? I'm trying to think. He's done it in League One big style in the past, hasn't he? So I think for Wigan, it's just get through the season, rebuild, and get over that awful happenings of the end of last season. Stabilise, and it's a shame, but we have to move on. They were very hard done by some crazy ownership stuff, and they are where they are now, and they just need to get above the line. And there is probably enough in terms of quality if they can move through the season to try and push up. But then Bolton went straight on through, didn't they, in similar situations? So you just got to try and survive, Ben, haven't they?
Absolutely. And Sam, you saw him play for Wigan Athletic against your team, Blackpool. He's a good player, and he is going to be a loss for them because he can just offer so much. He's a bit like a Ched Evans, isn't he, that he can do so many different things. Yeah,
not a bad comparison. I always remember a bit of a Paul Dickoff kind of striker, like Ben's saying before, going to stand on your toes when the free kick or corner's coming in. He's always going to try and wind up defenders, and he did that against Blackpool when they played at Shrewsbury. 2 kind of inexperienced defenders in League One, and he kind of bullied them a little bit, and he probably could have scored one on the night. But he's going to be a huge miss for Wigan. He's 32, so he's kind of, say, still in his not prime, but he's coming towards the end of his best time on the football pitch. But look, Wigan paid what 1.2 million for him, so a massive investment in him, and it's a shame to let him go on a free. But again, the club must have been so brave to let him go on a mutual basis, because he's, like I said, he's been there for since August 2018. Again, it's going to be a big loss to them. How they're going to replace him, I don't know, under the financial restrictions they are. But no, again, a striker who's done it, as you said, Preston. Trying to think, in the games he started, 113 starts and 49 goals in those games. So it's not a bad record in League One. So he's going to be a big miss for them. But Is he getting the service for Wigan in this season with the players around him? Not too sure. I can understand his frustration, and if you're going to go abroad somewhere, it's a bit of a nicer climate, and the sun's shining.
Although he did want to leave Ipswich, Sam, to go back up to the northwest, so he knew what he was signing up for.
Well, who wants to be? We all want to be in the
Everyone wants to be in the northwest when you're in tier 3 and London's in tier 2.
Well,
but overall,
I tell you what, he saw Waghorn go and Webster go and McCarthy go and McGoldrick go and Selina go, and he thought, guys, I'm out of here as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's going to be a big miss, Ben, and like you've seen him play, like you said, in games as well throughout his career. And what Wigan do now, as we said just before, is going to be tough. But wish Garner all the best. He's a good player in League One and been a good servant in the English Football League from the early days at Blackburn. So wish him all the best if that move comes off. And
the playoff semi-final goal of goals, wasn't it? The one where he chests it down and volleys it in. What a goal!
I mean, it was brilliant, wasn't it? And again, he was unbelievable in the. Was he? Did he score a hat trick? Oh no, that was Beckford.
That was Beckford in the final.
He was unbelievable in for Preston that season, and the way they got up, they played some attacking, nice football on the floor, and unbelievable. Going on to a different kind of football club and how they play, Doncaster. Now, Doncaster are a side that at the start of the season, they were playing some nice attacking football, and Darren Moore's done a great job there, obviously ex-West Bromwich Albion. And they have lost a few players due to injury, so they've had to change up their style. So for me, I've been kind of interested to see how they've done. Now, Sunderland, they were poor in my opinion, but they managed to get a point in the last minute. And again, it just shows that mentality that they can come back. Blackpool, they were 2-0 down, up and out. Blackpool, spirited, revived, and on for a 6th win in a row. And they come back and win 3-2. 4 points collected from losing positions in back-to-back home games. How important is it, Sam, that you come back and you have that spirit to never say die, and if you concede, you won't get that ball, get it to the halfway line and go and grab a goal because you're not out of the game yet?
Yeah, massive, Ben. That squad belief, and we were listening to the commentary. It was the Wolves commentary. Doncaster commentary we were listening to, and the player on the co-columns was saying, "Look, if we get one here, the belief in this squad, we'll go and get 2, and we'll go and get the winner." And that was the case on Tuesday night when they played Blackpool at home. But that team spirit comes. Sunderland always tough to break down, but scoring the 90th minute, Okenembere scoring in the late on in that game, and that would have given them the belief on Tuesday against Blackpool, despite going 2 goals down, to score. And Cameron John, I think he scored against Fleetwood last year when I worked at the club then, so Fleetwood lost down there. Reece James, a great move and great goal, and a penalty which was maybe a bit dubious, but again, great character shown, and that's what you need in League One. And we talk about character, same as Accrington and those teams that maybe haven't got the funds behind them, definitely got that team spirit, and that goes a long way in this league.
Absolutely. Ben Whiteman, he's a player that Jake has pulled out, and I'm a big fan of him. And Doncaster are a team, obviously another ex-championship that are finding it tough. They did drop into League Two, Ben, but they've managed to get themselves back up as kind of a mid-table playoff push kind of team. And what have you made of them so far this season?
I come at it from a little bit of a different angle, because obviously from studying the championship, I'm very interested in Darren Moore and how he sort of progresses. And Darren Moore had the misfortune to get a job in the championship in the same season he was up against Bielsa, Farker, Wilder, and Dean Smith with Grealish, McGinn, Abraham, and Mings. So there was a sense that Darren Moore had failed because he had Harvey Barnes, Jay Rodriguez, and Dwight Gale. And I wasn't actually surprised when he did get fired, but talk about wrong time, wrong place in a high tide championship season. They've given us bother when we've played them, and they've been one of the sides, very much like Fleetwood were when they came, where Ipswich fans come away and say, why is this club with less resource more organised and more adaptable tactically than we are? And that's what we found about Doncaster. And again, without the accusations of League One big team arrogance coming in, there's only a few clubs, Pompey, Ipswich, Sunderland, maybe Oxford, who are underachieving, where maybe they can negate an injury crisis. And that's just your worry about a Doncaster. But it'd be nice to see Darren Moore come back, because he was highly rated, and he took the plunge to drop the division, which a lot of managers are afraid to do. But given the way Championship clubs are now recruiting basically their assistant managers, foreign managers, or Chris Hughton or Tony Pulis, there's not that many jobs for, you might see a Cowley or a Cook or a Lee Johnson in League One at some point if the jobs don't come up.
Just a quick one. It's just a quick one. Sorry, but Doncaster seem to me like a team who just want to pass the way forward. And if you were a fan of theirs, you'd get a little bit frustrated. Nice tipping tappy at the back in midfield, but going forward, again, I know they scored 3 goals on Tuesday, but sometimes as a fan, they must get a bit frustrated with them. I don't know if people in the chat support Doncaster, but with that. But again, credit to, he said, the manager. He's done great, and whether he needs to progress and he's building his CV up and what he can do going forward, I don't know. But this could be a good season for Doncaster, in my opinion. They're 10th in the table, 12 games played. They're not on a bad run, and again, they've not had a poor, when they've had bad results, Ben, as you've probably seen, lose to Wigan, Oldham in the cup, bounce back and win against Portsmouth, beat Ipswich 4-1. They know how to bounce back, and that's so important in this league.
Absolutely, and a few questions. This is Sam Fielding is just saying he's a Blackpool fan, and Benjamin Bloom is an Ipswich fan. So go and check those two out. And if you are new to this channel, please like and subscribe. Next up, I'm going to talk about Burton Albion against Charlton. Now, Burton have been struggling this year under Jake Buxton. Obviously, has taken the plunge into management after Nigel Clough did leave to help them with financial issues, which I think is very, very good. Charlton have been on fire of late. They kept 6 clean sheets. They obviously beat all, so that made it unbeaten in 7-6 wins in their only draw against Sunderland at home. But then they did lose to Plymouth in the FA Cup and now lost to Burton 4-2. So after going on that run of not conceding a goal for 6 games and conceding 8 in the last 3, would that be a worry to you, Ben? Or would you think Lee Bowyer will get him back on track and back to a results-driven business? Because Burton was struggling. They only had 7 points before Tuesday. They're now on 10 points after a nice home win. How would you think Lee Bowyer be thinking right now after these last couple of results?
Yes to both. It will be a worry, but I do think that he'll get them back on track. That run that I remember Charlton went on to get into the playoffs to beat Sunderland 2 years ago was fantastic. And Bowyer then going through all the nonsense in the Championship, and they got 49 points and got relegated, which is pretty unlucky, isn't it? It was a very, very high tide season last year. So, I mean, I've just drawn up the game, and just squad-wise and experience-wise, Amos, Gunter, Pratley, Watson, Shinnie, and then Maddison's got quality. Bogle's done it in this league before. It just looks like as the season wears on, I think with Bowyer in there and with that first team particularly, you can't see them not just gradually rising their way up. I think there might be a few people fancy Bowyer at some other of his ex-clubs as well as a future manager. So, obviously he will be worried, but expect them to rise up, I think.
Absolutely. And Sam, unlucky. We were unlucky against Charlton. You only lost, was it 1-0? I think you lost to Blackpool. Obviously, that both ended up with 10 men. It was an unfortunate game. What do you think about Charlton this season under Lee Bowyer? Feisty character, but a great manager.
Yeah, great manager. And again, there's always been speculation in the past about him signing a contract deal or staying on, but I'm glad he has, because he's a young English manager, and we want to see as many of those in the league and in the English pyramid, should we say. But as the other Ben was going about the results from October, winning against Wigan, Blackpool, Northampton, Oxford, Portsmouth, Fleetwood, the 3-2, lost to, it was FA Cup that, but they lost to Plymouth as well. So, the last few results will be frustrating for the team, but you've got to think this between that, there's some more off-field issues on the club, and as a Blackpool fan and Charlton fan, we know what both clubs have been through, or both supporters have been through in recent years. So I'm glad, hopefully, they've turned a corner now. But the Burton result, as you were alluding to before, is a big loss for Burton. Not the best, again, not for me. I don't think they're the bottom mid-table side. No disrespect to them, but yeah, that's a huge loss. And again, with all these travelling for Charlton, going up to these teams up north and wherever they are, it's going to be a huge stray on them, really. And that's going to be the same for Ipswich and all those teams down there. But yeah, they'll get back to winning ways soon. Tough game on Saturday against Ipswich, but again, there's no easy game in League One, is there?
Tough, Ipswich, tough.
Just trying to be nice to a guest, that's all, Ben.
Just be competent against Ipswich. That's all you need to do. Can I just quickly come back on Charlton? A couple of things. One thing I do like about Bowyer, I love it when you see a manager who you can see how he was as a player in his teams, where, you know, as a player, Lee Bowyer wasn't very silky or maybe that skillful, but he's extremely good at committed runs into the box and decisive finishing. And you see that from his Charlton teams. I hope Sam is right and they have turned the corner. But I'm sorry, I do worry when I see the new owner wearing a pair of sunglasses, holding the guitar, being interviewed every 2 minutes on the channel. I'm sorry. I hope they deserve better. But that rings alarm bells when I see owners behaving in such a way. He could be brilliant. Yeah. But just a little alarm bell when I check that out.
Just in the comments, Ben. Just coming in the comments that if you can get it on the screen, the Tony one, he just said, agree with what Ben's saying. Charlton's squad is strong and they'll be there. The teams to beat at the end of the season. Chuks Aneke is one of the top 3 midfielders. I think he's a striker, isn't he? Or sometimes drops deep.
Can play in midfield.
Can play midfield. But you look, like you said before, Benjamin, the strength and depth they have, and what I want to flip
as well, Sam.
Yeah. Again, I think if they carried on the season and played a few more games in the Championship, they might have maybe stayed up at the time. It could have been started, but that long break, I think, affected them. But Ben, coming to you, Nappers, you know, when Ben was saying about managers reflecting the teams, do you come back to Fleetwood? Do you think that Joey's kind of done the same thing at Fleetwood in terms of they're aggressive when they need to be and going forward, but they have got that quality when needed?
I think so, yes. And Fleetwood have been a team that everybody's liked over the previous years. Little old Fleetwood rising through the ranks, and now we're starting to annoy people, it is nice, don't get me wrong, but I can see Joey Barton. He knows we're committed, we're passionate, we go into challenges, we press, we want to play attacking football, and it's not 11 good footballers out there. It's 11 footballers who want to work hard and want to get the best out of themselves and want to keep improving. So we've got a nice blend at Fleetwood, and I agree with what Ben said. I like when you can see a manager, and I think it's sometimes boring when you see a manager now and they're not themselves as they were as a player, and you just see, like, I can't see any of that. But with these young managers coming through, you can see it. Chelsea, Lampard, they want to play attacking football on the front foot, give youth a try, because he was at West Ham once and he was that one that, why is he in the side? And we've seen it with giving Mount a try when he went on loan to Mori as well. But going back to League One for the time being, it's really good to see that. Going on to another big club in League One and definitely fighting for promotion this year, in my opinion. And would it be third time lucky through the playoff for them? Portsmouth are looking stronger and stronger, on 25 points at the moment, but they have got some tough games coming up in Blackpool and Fleetwood and Peterborough coming up, and they've got an FA Cup tie against Kings Lynn. How do you think Portsmouth will do this year? Because they start a bit okay, then they want a bit of a drought a bit. They've only one defeat in 7, Ben, and that was to a fairly decent Doncaster side they lost in there as well. And I just feel with them, it's all about consistency at the end of the season. In your opinion, are Portsmouth ready to go up this year, third time lucky under Kenny Jackett?
I don't know. If you look down the managers in this league, Jackett is one of the few kind of older, experienced ones. And I don't know, there's just a little bit of a sense that obviously big club and work their way back up, always in the conversation, you know, dropped a big fee on Marquis last year, didn't they? You just see sometimes older managers who are kind of a little bit cautious and pragmatic coming up against the a McCann or an Appleton or a Barton or a Bowyer, a bit more aggressive and a bit more dynamic. And you see in that playoff game, look, I know they lost on penalties, and it has been close. But I'm going to do a horrible name drop here. I was talking to Kevin Phillips the other day. I interviewed him on my channel, and he was talking about Kenny Jackett in 1993 doing Watford. So he's so experienced. But I know Pompey fans may be a little bit indifferent to him, and I just think it's going to be high. There you go. It's going to be
the problem.
It's going to be a high tide season. I think maybe 4 teams might score 80 points. So
Exactly.
someone's going to get a load of points and finish in the playoffs and not get promoted. And if you're a Pompey fan, you would not want that to happen.
Sorry to interrupt. If we had to be on
go
the
ahead.
spot now, those 4 teams, which team would you have in mind? Because there's obviously a lot of good teams in League One this year that have goal scorers, and you got obviously, I'm going to put Fleetwood in there, obviously being biased by we've got one of the best as a squad, the best teams. You've got Portsmouth in there, Hull City, Peterborough, Lincoln could be in contention, Sunderland as well. If you had to put you both on the spot, those 4 teams, who do you think could challenge this year?
Sam?
What, 4 teams to go up or be in the playoff places, Ben?
I'll go for the playoffs right now because
Yeah.
it's going to be difficult to pick a winner and obviously a contend on a second place because one's going to be Fleetwood, so there's only one left.
Go on. I think Peterborough
Fleetwood playoff coming up. Yeah.
I'm annoyed you're leaving Blackpool out of this. No, I think Peterborough. I think they can be inconsistent, but after last year, and I thought how they were very harshly ruled out of the playoffs. I know it was on points per game and stuff, but they were flying along with Fleetwood at the time, and those two really could have pushed Coventry in that top 2 places. But for me, I think Portsmouth will be up there. I don't think Hull will stay in the top 2. I know the top at the moment. For me, I think it'll be Portsmouth, Hull, Charlton, and Fleetwood for me. I think Fleetwood, Ben, I've been to a few games. I'm going to get some stick off the Blackpool fans here, but having been to games recently, I've been to 5 and they've been unbeaten since. And on Saturday, when they beat Plymouth 5-1, they're 4-0 up. I think it was 4-0 at the time. And Joey made 4 subs at once, or 3 or 4 subs at once. Paul Coots came on. Barry Mackay came on. Glenn Whelan came on. Ched Evans came on. To me, that just shows that the strength and depth that Fleetwood have got. And if they're not in the top 6, I'd be very surprised. And they could potentially push the top 2, but that consistency, we'll come on to Fleetwood in a bit, Ben, because we've not really touched them yet. But for me, they're flying at the moment, and they're the team to watch out for me.
Absolutely. And Ben, what would you say?
I'm not going to say anyone because I'm like that and I'm awful. But can I just posit a theory to you, Ben, that obviously my big study is the Championship. And there is a very sane argument that this season, with the short season, the 5 subs, the no fans, we can all see the 3 relegated teams gravitating to the top 3. And sadly, the 3 League One promoted teams gravitating to the bottom 3. And I just wondered this season, out of all, is that size and the relegated club, because the transfer market was a bit depressed and they were, no one was really able to challenge the teams that actually dropped into divisions and had a little bit of a spend, were they? I think that bodes very well for Hull and Charlton, which is a very boring answer, but you mark my words, wait and see where Bournemouth, Watford, Norwich and Coventry, Wickham and Rotherham finish in the Championship next season. I think we may see something similar at the top. Obviously, Wigan are going to, that's a whole outlier and a different matter, isn't it, because of the admin. But so I'd look out for those 2. And as I say, in League One, competence is king. You don't need to be Pep Guardiola. You really don't.
You just need to go on a good run, don't you? And Fleetwood learnt that last year, and Charlton learnt it the year before, Shrewsbury as well. And going on to those top sides, now Peterborough, in my opinion, they're one of those sides that you always at the start of the season go, oh, how they signed this player? How they brought him in? Ben will be very aware of some of the shrewd signs, obviously. The striker up front, I can't remember his
Dembele.
name. From Bristol Rovers. I've lost his name.
Johnson Clark.
Harris.
Johnson Clark Harris. That's so bad for me. And then obviously they brought Sammy Smodocks in.
That's the first time I've ever heard him forget a bit of actual football information.
I am nervous.
Because he's doing the comments, isn't it?
I'm so nervous. But they brought in Sammy Smodocks and
you dropped the ball, Ben.
They really invested the money back in from Ivan Toney. Obviously, it was quite a big fee. It was massive for them to obviously lose him and lose his goals, but they're still scoring. They're still one of the top goal scorers in the league, just behind Portsmouth, and I think the same goals scored as Fleetwood as well. So they are flying in terms of goals. How do you think Peterborough will do this year? Because they missed out last year. They're always that side that just missed out on the playoffs, and they missed out on the last day a couple of years ago to Doncaster. We'll go to you first, Ben. Peterborough, good ownership as well. Is this the year that they can really crack back up to the Championship?
Yeah, they're interesting, aren't they? Because I had a really good, sensible debate with somebody about this. Because everybody praises the model of Peterborough of, right, you're a decent striker. Peterborough come to you and say, we want to sign you. We're going to set up the team to give you loads of chances. We're going to play really open. And if you do well, we will sell you to the Championship and on you go. And everyone praises that model. However, they never get promoted with it. That's the issue. So what it gives with one hand in a Jack Marriott, Britta Sombalonga, Dwight Gale, Ivan Toney, reel them off. They've been an absolute machine for producing strikers. Does it actually work other than, it keeps the club afloat and, you get 5 million quid in each year for your ace striker going off to a bigger club. Does it actually work? And I'm going to use the word competent again, will that be a competent Hull, Lincoln, Charlton, throw in any of the top 8 teams? So on its day, I remember them demolishing us with Dembele, Smodic and Toney at Portman Road, beat us 4-1. And there was that argument you were saying with the season ending early that they could have gone through, and we're going back over old ground, but Rotherham still had all of them to play as well, didn't they? So I don't know.
I reckon we would have beat them. I reckon we would have beaten them 2 or 3-0, in my opinion, the run we were on.
I think Fleetwood and Peterborough were the two teams who were flying. I think they were Fleetwood with 12 games unbeaten, I think, and Peterborough on a similar run as well. I had a Peterborough fan on last Friday for the preview show on the Seasiders podcast we do, and he was saying that they come good in the second half of games this season, where he said if teams get at them from the start and really press them, you can get at them, and that's what Blackpool did when they played Peterborough as well. I know, sorry, bring Blackpool into it, but they're a team that I think is still gelling. Things aren't clicking up front. Last year when they had Tony, he's been there a few years, so things were ticking. They had that chemistry. But yeah, I just think with the goals they do score, look at 5-1 against Shrewsbury, for example, beat Oxford, it was in the FA Cup, beat Bristol Rovers. I know it's not the toughest place to go, but it's never easy. Again, they've beaten some good teams already this year. And for me, the consistency, I think it's 9 wins in 10 games in all competitions. Not a bad winning mentality there. So for me, they've got some easy-ish games coming up. Wimbledon away, Portsmouth is a bit of a tough one, really. Rochdale at home, MK Dons away, Ipswich, another easy one there. Before I get told off again for saying it's a tough one. But again, they've got a good running so far, so they'll bounce back from the Blackpool defeat, and the winning against Plymouth that weekend would have helped. But FA Cup for them this weekend, so a week off.
This will sound stupid. You almost feel with the open model and really everything pointed towards the strikers succeeding, that if they don't finish second, they'll probably lose in the playoffs, won't they? Do you know what I mean? They're the sort of team that could come a cropper just by being too open in a playoff game, and some streetwise manager, there you go, I'm going to contradict myself there, Kenny Jackett may be coming against them, might be able to shut them down and 0-0 one of the games and, win the home leg or what have you. So, always an interesting club with Dara the Explorer in charge as well, aren't they?
I love that. Now, I find them a weird team as well. And there's a comment about Charlton Athletic now. And we did talk about squad depth and losing players. And it's going to be interesting this year for those clubs. Can they keep players fit? Because you're kind of playing, instead of one match, kind of 1.2 matches a week on average, it works out. You're probably playing 1.7 matches a week. So it's more Saturday, Tuesday this week. You've got obviously the Papa Johns. You've got the FA Cup. You had the Carabao early. We had 3 rounds in the first 2 weeks of the League One season. Do you think this could be a massive kind of season blowing outfit? If one team loses 1 or 2 players, they could drop down a turn line. We've seen Charlton in the last 2 games. They haven't won in 2 or 3 games and they've lost both centre halves.
Yeah, I'll start for there. I think you're right, Ben. And some clubs have done business early before the new financial regulations came in. Obviously, it was at 2.5 million. I think clubs can spend overall. So, I know a few clubs did a lot of good business early on to bring in players that didn't count for this season in terms of the wage cap and salary that they earn. So, yeah, it's going to be tough, but this is where the advantage might fall to the bigger clubs in the league, your Sunderlands, your Portsmouth, Peterboroughs in some respects to that. I'm not sure on the squad and depth that the Ipswich have got, but for me...
Bloated, massive. We've got 1 million players.
But even Fleetwood, Ben, you look at, as I said before, the players that came off the bench there, they've invested well this season because these clubs and these owners knew that games are going to be happening every Saturday, Tuesday for months to come. So teams who've been prepared early on, they're reaping the rewards at the moment. And so for me, yeah, a few players, if you lose them early on and you've not invested well, you will struggle like Charlton have done in recent games. But yeah, I agree. If you're prepared and you knew what was coming this season, you'll do okay.
It's insane. I totally agree with both of you. I remember covering West Brom 2 seasons ago. The season Darren Moore was there, actually. And we got to January and they drew in the FA Cup in the 3rd round, had a replay, won. Then drew in the 4th round, had a replay and won. And they played Saturday midweek, Saturday, I think for 6 weeks in a row. And I thought, this is mad. And it did actually really impact on them. And literally every single club in the league has to do it. And I mean, you guys know as content creators, I just got to the international break and we'd done, I think, 3 consecutive weeks of Saturday midweek. And then we start from the new international break, 5 straight weeks of it up into, so it's just stay injury clear, be consistent, be competent, and you'll be all right. And this season, maybe, in 3 points per game world, draws aren't that important. This season, maybe you'll see more draws and maybe the teams that can make 5 subs and bring in, like you say, Paul Coots and Glenn Whelan and all in the second half, maybe come into Christmas and you'll start to see them winning games in the 80th to 90th minutes as well. It's as Sky said at the start of the Premier League, a whole new ball game this season, isn't it? Different rules.
I was going to say, comment here from Amani Giant. So Charlton had 10 days to sign players after the embargo was lifted. We're behind a lot of teams, and you've got to take that into consideration for teams like Charlton. So again, like I said, their start they've had and the run they went on is superb. So a credit to Lebo and the players there, because it's not been an easy summer for most teams, but especially for them for the embargo. So I just wanted to bring that up, but a great comment there, Amani.
Absolutely. And guys, we want to hear your thoughts in the comments. So we obviously interact with you guys. Let me know your support. If you are new to the channel, please like, please subscribe, and subscribe to Benjamin Bloom and the Seasiders podcast as well. Now, next up, we've discussed Hull. Now, I would like to go on to another module, and we talk about these sides that might have an okay season or mid-tables finish where you don't really expect anything of. Lincoln. Now, Lincoln have started the season so well, haven't they? And they've just been one of those sides that have been a pleasure to watch. And they got back to winning ways in the midweek and a 1-0 win over Swindon. John Sheridan has just gone into that. We'll get into that shortly. But they have kept 7 clean sheets this year. They've only conceded 9 goals. And they've won 8 games. They've drawn 2. They've lost 3. So does this show you guys that if you carry on being consistent, you keep it tight at the back, you can go and get 1 goal on the counter-attack and beat these better teams this year?
Yeah, I did. Jake is in the chat, actually. I did the Lincoln show there, and I said, "Oh, you'll give us a good game," and Lincoln beat Ipswich indeed. at Lincoln. They've always given us a good game up there, and George Grant's all of a sudden stepped up. Monsma, the big centre-back, is very good as well. And I think they've everyone thought their success was wrapped up with Danny Cowley, didn't they? I think they've done quite well to transition away from that. And yeah, you definitely put them in the are they on 2 points per game? I know they've got 26 points, but they're one of the so 2 points per game. It shows that 2 points per game in most seasons is automatic promotion, isn't it? As well, 92 by the end. How many teams will keep that up? We think a few will get 80, but I'm impressed.
Absolutely. And what about you, Sam?
Yeah, they came to Blackpool in the start of October and won 3-2, a game where Husband, a player that we know well, Ben, gave away a penalty, sent off. They scored. George Grant scored his second in the 85th minute, and they get the winner in the 88th minute, where Blackpool were quite comfortable. But again, they're a side that even last year, when in the early stage of the season, they were playing good football, getting results, had that togetherness in the team, which I think is important. But as you were saying before, teams that keep clean sheets and don't concede many goals and are consistent over the course of the season, tend to go up. And for me, they remind me a little bit of Coventry from last season, where, they maybe weren't amazing, but they had an identity. They knew how to play. They grinded out results when you need to, and that's just always a sign of a good team. So for me, I know I said that they might not be in the top 6, but they're one of those teams for me that are going to be there or thereabouts. But I just think there's going to be stronger teams coming into the season and teams who have been there and done that before. But you can't moan at the start. They've had 2 points per game, as you were alluding to. Played 13th, third in the league table. So credit to Appleton there, because he's done a fantastic job, and a young manager who I hope, and I'm sure he will, go a long way in the football pyramid. And
the link up with Forest there, because Tyler Walker last year scoring the goals. And obviously, as Ipswich fans, we're very interested in Brennan Johnson, because his dad was a great striker for us. And, if you can't, we saw Aston Villa do it very well to get out of the Championship. If you ain't got the money, you can still do loan deals, can't you? In a player that you have no hope of signing, you can have play for you for a season. And, if a loan signing does well, everybody benefits, don't they? The player, the receiving club, and the club loaning them out. So we'll see how Johnson does.
But absolutely agree. Now, a couple of early sackings. There's never a footballing season without a sacking or two. Fleetwood went to Bristol, won 4-1, and played them off the park, in my opinion, and got Ben Garner, the sat there, a young manager, and Tisdale's gone in there, Exeter, and MK Dons. Is he the right appointment, in your opinion, Ben? One that has been around. He's always struggled with in League One, but this is probably the best bunch of players he's ever worked with. Obviously, he's got Westbrook there. He's got Brandon Hanlon. You've got Max Amer. So there are some decent League One players.
I love him, but I'm going to go back to what I said about what League One essentially is. And you'll see Paul Tisdale trying to invert his fullbacks and, play through the thirds and do all this sort of exotic stuff. I remember seeing him try all sorts of stuff against, I went to MK Dons versus AFC Wimbledon last season, and he was trying this, that, the other. And AFC Wimbledon just brought Marcus Force on, bunged it in the box and just equalised straight away. And it's like, yeah, you can have as many tweaks, but can you defend a big guy at the back post? I like him very, very much. But remember, the whole thing at Exeter was such a long tenure to build up what he was doing, and he became sort of synonymous with the club. So I don't know, maybe he gets a long tenure at Bristol Rovers now, but not sure. But I'm a big fan, I have to say.
Absolutely. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, I think they've struggled, haven't they, in the last 12, 18 months of there, and the manager. They've had a few managers in charge, haven't they, since, and it's just not worked out. But again, I'm looking at the stuff on Soccer Base now. It's kind of a cross. They get a win, then they draw, win, draw, loss, win, loss, draw. And they've got Darlington at the weekend. I know we've got some Darlington fans in the chat, which is great to see in the League One review. But He's like a League Two Pep Guardiola, isn't he? With his leather gloves on, his hat, and whatever else he's wearing. But yeah, how that football's going to go down in Bristol, I'm not too sure, because you've been there, Ben, before. I've been there a few times in the last few years, and it can be a hostile place. And if things aren't going well, or the football's not right, or they're not winning games, fans down there are quickly turned. So it's going to be a tough one, but it's a good chance for him to prove himself away from Exeter, like as the other Ben said, that he had a long tenure there. So again, it could be a blessing in disguise that they change the football philosophy and start playing good football. But it's going to be a tough job. And this year, he's already got it to do with them sitting 21st in the league table.
Spot on, and I agree with that. Now, Shrewsbury, another team getting rid of a manager, Sam Ricketts. Again, they've not started this season too well. It's only the one win in the first 13 games. They did beat Cambridge in the FA Cup. It's been a sacking that's been waiting to happen, and they have brought in some big names into the club. They brought Mark Pugh, they brought in Charlie Daniels as well. So they have been bringing some experienced Premier League/Championship players. Looking at bringing in there, Paul Hurst, he did well with them and went to Ipswich, and he only won about one game, didn't he, Ben?
Oh, I knew his name was going to come up. I really, really knew. Right, I've got a lot to say about this, as you can imagine. I'll try and be quick, Ben.
Don't worry.
Obviously, the first thing I'll say is the sheer humiliation of losing in the 97th minute against Ipswich. That was enough for Sam Ricketts, wasn't it? I'm a bit sad about it, because I went to a game early last season and I'd been away on holiday, so I hadn't seen Ipswich playing. Ipswich was up the top of the league and had beaten everybody, and Caden Jackson and James Norwood are scoring. And I go to this game against Shrewsbury, and a couple of things dawned on me. I was like, and we were 2-0 up at half time, and I was like, we're not very good. You know, this is. I'm not sure how we're doing so well in this league. And Shrewsbury knocked it about quite nicely. And it was only for a silly red card. It's interesting that you mentioned Paul Hurst, though, because I was having this moment yesterday of thinking, right, we're at a position now where Lambert's not really working, and I kind of thought we took Paul Hurst at the time where we really needed an experienced guy who could deal with egos in the Championship, which would have probably been Paul Lambert. Right now would probably actually be the time to take the up-and-comer who knows League One. So I don't know. There was a lot said about that. It was very, very bad blood at the time. Obviously, it's the only time Marcus Evans has taken someone who was already in employment at the time. And there's the story that his desk was clear before the playoff final. They played the playoff final and he never went back. And then, of course, took John Nolan and Toto Nsiala. So there would be a few bridges need to be rebuilt. However, look at Luton, look at Nathan Jones and how hated he was after going to Stoke, how terribly he did for Stoke. And if everyone can swallow their pride, sometimes certain, particularly small little managers, are just a really good fit at a certain club. So I don't know. I feel badly for Paul Hurst. I really do, because he'd done such good work with Grimsby and getting up to Shrewsbury and there. And it felt like he took the Ipswich job, 16 games, like you say, one win. I was there. I need to get the T-shirt saying I saw Paul Hurst win a game for Ipswich, because there was only one. And it was away at Swansea as well. So there weren't many Town fans there. But yes, that would be hell freezing over him going back, wouldn't it?
Just
exactly.
Are you surprised he stayed as long as he did, Ricketts? Because I think the Liverpool and FA Cup clash kind of saved his job a little bit, in my opinion, but they weren't on a great run then. Are you surprised they maybe didn't go for a new manager in the summer, or due to the season finish early to the pandemic, do you think he was given another chance? For me, knowing what maybe was going behind the scenes, I would have got rid of him in the summer, not 2 months, 3 months into the current season. I don't know what both of you think about that, but I think he was on the ropes towards the end of the last campaign.
Ben?
Go on, Ben.
I'm sorry, just getting some notes for the next one, just to be prepared.
Caught you out again.
As you did, mate. I'm stressed tonight because it's a new series. I'm just trying to get it all
I
now.
will dive in and bail you out. Then. No, I think you're totally right, Sam. I think, and I think the same could be said of Paul Lambert, that if the doors hadn't closed and we hadn't had 3 months off, I think certain managers did get a stay of execution, didn't they? And of course, owners they didn't know what the hell to do, did they?
Yeah.
In terms of, not knowing what was around the corner. So yeah, it would have been odd. I suppose we got the Nigel Clough thing happen with Burton, didn't we? But that was a bit of a different kettle of fish. But yeah, be very fascinated if Paul Hurst does go and interview for that. I think might have to go with a large lorry of humble pie, mightn't he? But
exactly. I think Andy Pilley said it on a podcast I was listening to today. He always used to say, if you sack a manager halfway through a season, you write off that season, basically. Because they'll come for a player and I don't like it. And I do agree to a certain extent, but sometimes there is a moment where a manager needs to go in for the sake of the season, never mind writing it off. I think you've got to bring a new manager in. Obviously, Sheridan came in at Fleetwood and did really well in the last 13 games. I think we won 6, drew 4, lost 3. And those two of the 3 that we lost were to Wigan Athletic, who won the league. And then I think the other one was at Peterborough away. So I can agree with you what you're saying about sacking a manager. But Paul Lambert is an experienced manager, but I just think with him at the helm, I don't think there's many good tactics there. I just think you're beating the sides that you're better than, in my opinion. And I think a lot of questions about Portsmouth, I'd say the same about Portsmouth right now. I don't know if you guys would agree.
Sam?
Yeah, tough one really. But again, they've got a manager and they've believed him and he's brought players in over the course of the years that might need time to gel. But going to your thing about sacking a manager midway through the season, I think if it's needed and your team's at the bottom, you need a reaction. That's you do need that, to be fair. But Shrewsbury's 23rd, 13 games, 9 points. It's not a great stat, but it's just surprised me they didn't get rid of him in the summer. Again, you don't want to see managers sacked, but like I said, the pandemic's probably saved him, in my opinion. But yeah, if they write the season off, Ben, they're going down. So they need something to change at the helm. Whether it's the right time to do it now, a new players are coming in the summer. Manager who comes in now might not like him, which means more players in and out the door. It's a really tough time, especially when we don't know when fans are coming back. I'm not sure what the Shrewsbury situation is, if they're in Tier 2 or not, but it doesn't look great for Shrewsbury and Wigan at the moment. They're the two sides that would, for me, definitely go down, and the next 2 places above them's open for many teams. Just Blackpool in 15th, I'm sure they'll go the opposite direction.
Well, it doesn't change for Ipswich or Sunderland. They've been in Tier 3. One's been in Tier 3 since 2009 and the other one's been in 2018. So it doesn't matter. They're still in Tier 3. They still can't get promoted, and Benjamin's evil look. No, but just finally as well, we've seen returns for a few clubs this year for a 2,000 limit back. Do you think this will help the home team again? Because we've seen a lot of weird results away from home. Do you think maybe the balance might swiftly go back to the home team?
I'll come in first on this one because obviously Blackpool, one of the teams who had the trial run earlier in the season, and from all accounts and hearing people in the club, it went really well. The protocols were followed, fans were listening, and they were chanting, which I've heard that they won't do that in the Premier League, which is absolute nonsense. There's no way they can stop you talking and chanting or cheering your team on. So, but no, I think it does give a team a home advantage. Obviously, we were quite looking forward to maybe fans being in for the Blackpool and Fleetwood games in the next few months, but that doesn't look likely. Now we're in Tier 3. But no, it definitely does have an advantage. I think Blackpool found that against Swindon early in the season and came out victorious. But even for me, it should be done on a percentage, not 2,000, because again, no offence to Fleetwood, that's probably the whole season tickets, or maybe even more. So they're going to have all the fans in there where there's going to be nothing. So for teams like Fleetwood and Burton, massive advantage. For other teams, Portsmouth, Sunderland, when they're only getting 2,000 in the door at some point, hopefully, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be the same because you're going to have so many empty seats still in a 35-seater stadium. To me, it should be done on a percentage, but the most important thing is that fans are allowed back in sooner rather than later, and the game get back to being what we love, because at the moment it's not the same. It's good we can watch it, but for me, football is all about the fans.
Exactly. And what about you, Ben?
I've been very irritated by the reaction, because I think there's a lot of football fans who've been out outed as being very juvenile about this. And when they were all saying, let fans back in, they weren't saying that at all. They were saying, let me back in, is what they were saying.
Yeah.
And we've been saying clubs need this income. They need it to come back in. And then as soon as we get it announced, it's oh, well, can I come? What happens if I can't have my season ticket seat? And it's not about the club at all. It's all about them. And, then if it's, I don't know, London clubs can come back and this club can't come back. And it's been, is that now an advantage? As well, do we want to try and get this moving and get the world started off one more time? Yes, of course we do. So I think in this situation, might it be an advantage? Possibly. Is it unfair that some teams will have fans and other teams won't? Probably. Yes, it is unfair. Is that important right now? No. Let's just get some people back in the stadiums. Let's get some clubs raising some money. I don't know whether the away teams are going to get money or whether they would. No. I mean, you would love in a socialist utopia for all the money to go into a pot and be split, so the teams that couldn't have people in aren't disadvantaged financially, but everything's so topsy-turvy and, and as someone who's lost their job through COVID, it isn't fair, period. So there you go, my political rant about that.
George says it the same. He was there for the test match and it worked really well. And for me, I'm glad the fans are back in, but Tony made a good point. I don't think any club at this moment will be making anything with 2,000 fans in, because some won't be able to hold it and some it'll just be season ticket holders. So will they be making money? I really don't think so. And that is the worry, isn't
Only
it?
On the refreshments in the concourse and stuff, Ben, they might make
because
something.
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I stand corrected. Yeah, okay.
But you could tell. I know some have been selling programs online to raise funds 50-50, and it is a good income. And I believe an iFollow. So what you have to do, so say if we played you, Ben, an iFollow, did ask Fleetwood how many?
Oh, it's crazy. You'd make nothing. Yeah.
And we take 75. So whatever we sell more than 75, we get apparently, and you get the 75. So we could literally say we're going to bring 10, and we'll make, or like the 100 that we buy. I don't know if you've watched an iFollow guy. Do you like the iFollow service?
I think it's an absolute shambles of a service. Sorry. I know I used to work for a football league club, but just it's so far behind that it's not live, it's streamed. So I could be watching the game in the lounge and then we'll get a text from in a group chat saying, "Hey, Blackpool are winning," or "For fuck's sake, we're losing," kind of thing. So I'm guessing swearing, but you know what I mean? In that terms of how it all works, but I just don't think it's great. And I think the amount of service, the amount of audio doesn't connect to the stream, and the thing, there's so many things wrong with it. And they say that everything going wrong is only 1% of the users, which is that's a nonsense as well. I know there's a lot of Blackpool fans very frustrated with the service that they're getting. They're paying, again, hard-earned money if it's away games to pay. I know you'd probably go anyway, but in these tough times, if you want to watch the game, you want to watch it in the best quality. And for me, it's not up to that standard yet. But on the flip side, sorry, Ben, before you come in, iFollow was meant for away international supporters at first. It's not meant for us to watch it week in, week out. If you've got some dodgy thing you can do, but it's meant for the international fans to watch it due to them not being able to get to games. So when iFollow were used to having a smaller audience, not used to having, say, Ipswich, maybe 5,000 people watching the stream at home. Maybe that's where the errors are coming in, not used to it. But to me, it needs sorting, especially if it's going to carry on for the next few months.
No, sorry, Ben. That's exactly what I was going to add at the end. It's like iFollow is, I don't know, is like you've built a little corner shop or something that's fit to serve, I don't know, 50 people a day or whatever. And then all of a sudden COVID happens and there's 400 people a day want to use your little corner shop and you just can't cope. What I will say, and I'm sure Ben will back me up on this, the whole internet thing, that's not just an iFollow thing, though. That is, if you've ever done a watch along and it's remotely anything to do with the internet and not coming down a TV line, then you got someone in the comments telling you that there's a goal happened 3 minutes before it's happened.
I've managed to find a way to mute all the words that I don't
I've put a TV in here. I've got so fed up with it. I've put a TV on my desk in here, and I have a TV feed now instead of instead of internet. But the other thing as well is there's obviously not enough cameramen and support staff, is there? And they can only afford a single camera at Ipswich. And if you've been there at the top of that big stand where everyone's getting seasick and moaning about the picture, but it is what it is. And they did, like you said, Sam, they didn't know. No one knew this was going to happen. They weren't ready. They've done their best. Their best has been a bit shoddy at times, but it's been the difference between us seeing our teams and us not. And hey, maybe it's a look into the future, isn't it? That you will in the future, and it will likely be a deal struck between clubs and leagues that you will be able to watch every game on TV streamed in far better quality. If you watch Leeds TV or Rams TV of Derby, you get a pre-match show, you get presenters, you get 5 cameras. It's really good. But
the champion. Sorry, go on.
No, but it's going to be the big clubs that can do it, that are then going to get the most viewers, that are then going to make the most money. So it's another thing that will allow the traditionally bigger clubs with bigger fan bases to rake in more money. And yes, I understand that is on a League One level. That is Ipswich. I understand that, but that's the way I see it going. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I think when I used to look after the iFollow at Fleetwood last season and was one in charge, I know you can make so much money that you don't realise. I think Fleetwood made nearly 10 grand or something. I don't want to go into the specifics of it, but it's a great revenue stream. Well, that was just international fans. Imagine what clubs are making this year when actual fans who go to games are watching it. But I think in the Championship they have, is it 2? Maybe not this year, but I know last year they had 3 camera angles around the grounds because they've obviously got a bit more to Everton at home, their cameras. Yeah. So again, these big teams can afford it. They've got media teams, they've got 100 people in the media team and all that lot, where you look at Fleetwood, they've got that one person now, just the one. But again, it's good that, again, for me, it's good that fans are able to watch, as you said. But yeah, the clubs can do so much more, I think, in terms of pre-match shows and stuff, even on a small budget. Leighton Orient are a really good club at doing that stuff. And Luke, who I know well, who's gone down there to do their media stuff, he's got like a studio now in the stadium, like a room that wasn't being used. They've turned it around. And again, I think it's whatever clubs make of it. If they want to put on a full match show, great. I think fans will watch it. But again,
well said.
But again, staffing's hard, isn't it? When you've not got the staff there, it's really hard to do. But it's tough times, isn't it?
No one's making any money, are they? But just as you're saying that, I'm just thinking, God, imagine if you're Manchester United and you had the exclusive rights. The club literally owned 100% exclusive rights. How much money they could make to selling streams to the millions of Manchester United fans around the world. And you see now why Sky and BT pay billions, because it's to keep them away from, because that's more than that's what they need to pay to stop the clubs just cutting out the middleman, which doesn't feel that far away now, does it?
Exactly.
No, but even with Amazon, Ben, isn't it? I think Amazon have got a game coming up soon to do it. And what they did around Christmas last year, I thought was great. Every game was live on a Tuesday night, and they had top quality commentators on. They had top quality guests. And I thought, this is the way forward. If people are going to subscribe to something, like your Netflix subscription or whatever other subscriptions you've got going, that's the way forward for me. You'll get so many more people buying those packages week in, week out than people paying 40 quid for Sky or BT, whatever there is, as other TV providers out there. I'll let them know. But yeah, I just think one day it's going to go digital, and where Amazon are going to really take over, because they're a massive business, and especially with all this COVID and pandemic, they've definitely grown as a business globally, haven't they?
Exactly. And the last topic that I do want to discuss, Amani, dark horses for top 6. Now, I think Lincoln were one at the start of the season, wasn't they? And they've crawled in. And I think we've mentioned Accrington and Wimbledon have both been on decent runs. Blackpool starting to come good. Doncaster are always there or thereabouts. Ben, in your opinion, there are some good clubs in League One this season that could do well. Any that might surprise us and get into the top 6? Because there's always one.
Only on the base. It's not really a dark horse, Ben, but Oxford are 18th. And I know they sold Dickey and Fosu and Baptiste, and have struggled to sort of replace there. But I just can't see them not moving up the table. I hear lots of people say good things about Russ Martin at MK Dons, but it's a long old run. I think As I said, you've outlined most of the runners and riders, and this season of all, maybe one that might be a more predictable top six. Let's just say, and we'll see at what point Ipswich managed to drop out of it.
It'll be a couple of games, even a couple of games yet when we start playing the better teams. I think they'll be there or thereabouts, but Ipswich just need to carry on beating those sides and just be better.
But Ben, unless you're going to be in the top two, it's not enough. I liken it to England. England destroy everybody in the World Cup qualifiers and then play a decent team and lose to them. That's Ipswich at the moment.
Ipswich with less talent. England with less talent.
Without Harry Kane, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Sam? Obviously, Blackpool could be in the mix. Anyone that points out to you? We obviously you watched a lot of Fleetwood this year. Teams against like the Gillinghams and Accringtons, and you've seen a lot of teams against Blackpool. So you might be able to give us a better view.
For me, I kind of gave my kind of top six earlier. I think Peterborough are going to be in the top two. And I think Charlton as well. I think they're going to be my top two in there. But away from that, as I said before, it's going to be hard to deal with. But I think Portsmouth, that they seem to just turn good towards the second half of the season. Ipswich, they've had a great start, but are they going to do what they did last year and fall towards the final hurdles? I really don't know. But Sunderland, they've flapped it last two seasons, haven't they? They've got up there and not been able to. But I look down, I just don't think Blackpool have ticked yet, and at a matter of time it will do. So for me, they're an outside horse. You had some money on, I won't surprise me. I'm not just saying that being a Blackpool fan, but again, people are going to judge me from what I say, but I look round and I don't see a more fit, a more well-rounded, well-organised team than Fleetwood at the moment. I watched half the Charlton game and they look good, but for me, just the strength in depth that Joey Barton's got to him and the way he's moulded this squad over the last third year, isn't it? It's a 2.5 years, should we say. It's a huge credit to him, especially new in management. So going to be at Lincoln. Again, 2 points per game. You've got to look at that and think they're going to be up there. But to me, I just think they'll have a period in the season where they lose 3 or 4 on the bounce and teams in and around and catch them up. So for me, if you're going to put them in the spot, it's going to be Peterborough, Charlton, top 2, Portsmouth, Ipswich, Fleetwood, and then an outsider in there. I'm not too sure on the other place, to be fair, but Blackpool, maybe Doncaster, but I don't think Doncaster good enough. Sunderland. But yeah, I know my top 5, I think, but it's that last place can be anyone's.
Can I just, Ben, sorry, really quickly, can I just talk about Hull? Because I saw Hull.
Oh, I missed that Hull. Sorry, they're the team.
Yeah. Lenny Sylvester's a Hull fan, so he might be able to jump in about that.
Yeah, there you go. So I saw Hull, and Hull were the exact dictionary definition of a competent League One team. They've won 10 in 13, and the Hull newspaper has run a story on what Mick Mills, the great England left back who was summarising for us, and I think they've misinterpreted what he said, which was actually a big compliment to Hull, that they beat Ipswich quite handily without having to really be that good. And that was not an insult to Hull. That was a compliment, and well organised. Grant McCann. They've got a couple of big lumps that can play up top with McGuinness and Eves, and then quick players around them, Adelaide and Wilkes. They are your blueprint for a League One side if they can. And Smallwood's been promoted. Like
he was good against Fleetwood, wasn't he, Ben, when we did it?
But literally just sits in front of the back 4, just screens, or positions his other 2 midfielders, organises them. So that's what I mean about not needing to overcomplicate this division with tiki-taka or playing through the thirds and, having honking great League One centre-halves trying to receive the ball with their back to goal inside their own penalty box and then not knowing what the hell to do with it. If you can coach it, great. And look where Coventry ended up, fine. But Lenny says Josh Emmanuel, great experience. And obviously that did amuse me. Josh Emmanuel, who was not selected by consecutive Ipswich managers and then has a really good game, obviously, when he comes back and played a key pass for one of those goals. But Hull is the archetype of the competent League One side. And please, That is a compliment, not an insult. Yeah.
Well, I don't think their fans like me because after the game, after we beat them 4-1, I played Pugwash 4 times all over social media. I think Team 3 are coming to Highbury now, and the fans think we can't concede to these. These are going to play captain Pugwash. But I agree with your point. Before we get to Sam's opinion on, well, I'm going to go for my top 6, and I've thought about it. I've automatically always said I'm going to stick with them for now. Charlton and Peterborough will go into the top 2, but I'm slowly Peterborough for Hull. So I'll go for Charlton and Hull for now. In the playoff, I've gone for Peterborough, Portsmouth, Fleetwood and Ipswich. I think Lincoln will miss out. I think the squad depth may come in. I think Sunderland will miss out. I don't think Parkinson will get anywhere there. I just think with Fleetwood, with this squad, I think it's too good not to get into the playoffs. So, bias miss all I like. I know people will probably clip that and come to me at the end of the season when we finish 7th on the last day. After Ipswich go into the playoffs after beating them 1-0, and my tweet will come back to haunt me. But Sam, Hull City, we obviously Fleetwood beat them 4-1. You've still got them to come. I think it's in December time, don't you? You play Hull City, and it's going to be an interesting game, that one. How are your thoughts on Hull this year going up wise? Because they've got a great squad, and we saw them against Fleetwood. Obviously, Fleetwood were unlucky, got a couple of early injuries, a minute to half time. They beat us 2-0 fairly comfortable. What's your thoughts on them this year?
Yeah, I don't want to say too much. I think the other Ben's summed it up really well. I think they're strong. They've come in this division wanting to bounce straight back at the first attempt. And again, I've missed them off, to be fair, and that's bad of me. But I do think they'll be up there at the end of the season. And again, I don't want to say too much because what Ben said is what I was going to say as well. So yeah, they'll be up there abouts. Whether it's the top 2, I'm not too sure. But for me, if they continue the way they are, they're definitely in the top 6.
I agree. And we've got a question for Ben from Tony Hullett. Is James Norwood still at Ipswich, Ben? Fleetwood Town were interested in the summer. Obviously, Dundee were also interested, I think it was, as well. We still have a big portion of that budget as well. How's Norwood doing for Ipswich this year?
Well, he just returned in the last game and actually didn't do too badly in the 3-0 defeat at home to Hull, although it was a bit of a insult to what Lambert was trying to do, that our best player was a forward playing off scraps, chasing crisp packets up the top that was doing good. He hasn't settled at Ipswich. Obviously, there's some problems. I think personally at the start of this season. Hopefully, he's back and focused now. And if Fleetwood have budget, if you bat your eyelids at Marcus Evans and you give him 75% of what he wants, he'll sell, won't he? So, and we know that Mr. Norwood and Mr. Barton are good friends. I think he'd be really good for Fleetwood, actually. But be nice to see if we could get him playing, eh?
Exactly. Another question for you. Thoughts on Hawkins? Obviously, was at Portsmouth and can play in a couple of different positions. And I think there's a bit of a scapegoat at Portsmouth. How have you found him at Ipswich?
Well, while Lambert persists with his one central striker and his attempts at being Pep Guardiola, he's got a chance of getting in the team, Hawkins. But I think if he does go to a front 2, which as stubborn as he is, I think he's going to have to give in a few games' time. I think it'll be Norwood and Caden Jackson, and Hawkins will be your tool option off the bench, unless he can come in the team and get some goals. But we haven't seen much. He's done all right with his chances, but I just think while Norwood and Jackson are there, I think he's going to be sort of first reserve.
Absolutely. And I think we've covered everything. So, Sam, thank you for coming on, mate. And where can people go and find your channel? You do a podcast, don't you?
Yeah, we part of the Seasiders podcast, so you can find us on Twitter at @SeasidersPod. And also on YouTube as well. If you type that in, it comes up at the start. So I think we've just gone over the 400 followers mark, which is good for us, a bit of a milestone, and hopefully get to the 500. If you can do it before Christmas, great, or the New Year, it'd be great. But yeah, it's something new we're building on, and hopefully fans will. Ben will try and get you on. Obviously, when Blackpool play Ipswich later in the season, that'll be great. So yeah, if any fans want to join us on a pre-match show on a Friday, which I host, you're more than welcome. And it's check out what we've done. It's great content, and yeah, making great connections with you guys and other people as well, which again, it's all about the fans, isn't it? And especially these days. So whatever we can do on our podcast, we can help out. But great show tonight, Ben, and I'm sure it'll be a success the more shows we do.
Spot on. Go and give Sam a sub. Also subscribe to this channel, guys. You're not getting subscribed for about 3 or 4 days. I'm starting to panic. If you could subscribe, that'd be amazing.
Stop staring at that number. It'll drive you mad.
Oh, I know. He's showing me. I've been on 5705 for the last 3 days. If anyone could subscribe, that'd be amazing. But Benjamin, again, you're an Ipswich fan. You do a lot of Championship content. Brilliant songwriter as well. Where can people go and find your channel as you're on the road to 14,000 subscribers now?
Sure. So, yeah, Benjamin Bloom on YouTube, Benjamin Bloom on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon as well now. Teesprings for merchandise we've got going now. More pertinently for a League One point of view, and I will selflessly say I'm also a member of the Blue Monday podcast team, which focuses more on Ipswich. So if you are a Blackpool fan or a Hull fan or whoever, Fleetwood, you will get to hear us talk about your team. And if your team are quite well organised and can defend, you might well hear us talk about your team winning at Portman Road at some point in this season. But no, do go and support all of these guys. A lot of us, this is our only income stream now, so we desperately need you. So even if you're thinking about, oh, it's only 79p for the super chat or $3 on Patreon or whatever, go ahead and do it, because people like Sam and people like Ben have taken their labour of love and they're going for it. They do a great job, and they really do deserve your support. And so do I, obviously.
Then goes to Ben. And Tony has put in great. We're going to try and make it fortnightly. That was always the intention, because some weeks there won't be a game, and I think it's going to be better to talk about fortnightly. But there is a live show next week, hopefully with Sam on the Blackpool game, and then there'll be an after show where I'm constantly laughing at Sam after we beat them 5-0. I just know I've said that there's going to be, that no, where I've said something, backfire, you lose like 3-1, and then it's like my face after the game, and it goes, no, and then rolled by that
Ben,
song,
I've told you many times, my friend, there is no winning at football banter. The only way not to lose is not to play. But if you do play, it's like the Game of Thrones. You either win or you die.
Exactly. There's no middle ground, is there?
No, that's why I don't play. I don't play and I never lose.
Absolutely. But guys, thank you for joining me. I've been, obviously, Cod's Vlogs, Sam Fielding. Go and check out the Seasiders podcast. Thank you, Benjamin Bloom, for coming on. Thank you, guys. Please remember to like and subscribe. It'll be much appreciated. I'll be live tomorrow for the visit of Sunderland AFC in League One. Be nice to play a club smaller than Fleetwood, as Joey Barton would say. Thank you, guys. I'll see you later.